Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter. And welcome back to part 2 as we look into Aulani. I'd like to welcome back to the show our co-host, Christy. How are you doing today?
I am well, Steve. How are you?
Oh, it's early and we are going to it. But welcome back to the show as well, Amber. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. And Aulani's tough to talk about. There's like a lot to do there, but yet there's a lot to do around the island. And it looks like you and your family have done quite a bit, Amber, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm not very good at sitting still. So sitting on the pool or sitting on the beach at Aulani is fun for me for a couple hours. But I also, every other day or so, I kind of make my family go do something else with me.
Well, perfect. And so we're going to talk about a bunch of the things that you've done. I'll try and throw some things in there that I know as well. And Christy, did you guys get a chance to explore the island very much when you were over there?
Basically, our last day, we did a tiny bit because that was the day we did eventually leave the resort, and we had a 10 o'clock flight, which ended up getting pushed back even later. And so that was supposed to be our Pearl Harbor day and otherwise a little bit of Waikiki type activity day, but not really.
Okay. Well, just to kind of jump back into it, just like the cruise ship, Aulani has a excursion desk, and that may not be the actual name for it, maybe just concierge desk in the lobby. Have you used their services at all, Amber, or have you kind of just done everything by yourself?
They actually have a concierge in the lobby, and they do have an excursion desk. I think it's called the Holo Holo excursion desk, where they can actually like book tours for you. I have not used them. I have talked to concierge quite a bit, just getting their insight on like good mom and pop places to eat and things like that. But I have not booked like a full-on excursion. I've done all those on my own.
If you are going to do an excursion with Aulani, you might have to sell one of your children.
Right, exactly.
So that's just something to keep in mind. It's pretty pricey. I have heard that they are amazing. The activities that they offer are amazing, but they are pretty pricey.
I mean, if you don't have a car, you may have to rely on them because, of course, most of them provide I would assume all of them provide transportation. But since we always rent a car, we can easily do all these things on our own. And most of these things are free or almost free.
So the opposite of sell your child.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so you can go online ahead of time. You can see kind of what they have to offer. And you guys are right. For the most part, I think you can do a lot of the stuff that they do offer. You can probably book it your own and save quite a bit of money. I know we were going to do surf lessons with them one time just because it was closer than to going all the way down to Waikiki. And I believe there was actually a cost to get you there. Like if you had your own car, then you didn't have to pay that cost. But I think there was like an additional cost to get you to the beach itself. So just something to look for. But so let's just talk about the cars. We talked about that just real quickly before, but just to go back to it. So you normally get a car when you get into the airport, right, Amber?
Yes, always. Okay,
that's the cheapest way I think to do. I think Hawaii, for the most part, it's fairly reasonable to get a car for a week or for several days while you're over there. It's not. Obviously, it can depend on the season, but for the most part, I think it's fairly reasonable. They also have Alamo on site. Have either one of you booked through Alamo at the hotel itself?
No.
We usually get our car at the airport as well, but I remember we had a room that looked out over the Alamo site, and there was a line in the morning of people that were just waiting for a long time to get their cars. So I would say if you do it, I would definitely book it ahead of time to make sure that you've got one reserved, especially if you have something planned for the day or if you have a whole day kind of locked off to go around the island.
And then one note is that if you are not a DVC member, there is a charge for parking. So while it is maybe not as expensive to get a car or to rent a car for a week, you do have to pay a pretty good amount to park it there overnight if you are not DVC. So just something to keep in mind.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that you've done around the island, Amber, and then we can talk about some food, or we can throw the food in as we're kind of going around too, because some of the places are up on the North Shore that you guys have been. We talk about some of the things you've done up there. So one of the first things that everybody loves to do is Pearl Harbor. Have you done Pearl Harbor recently? Can you talk about it?
I'll be honest, I haven't done it recently because, like you said, the first time I went to Hawaii, which was about 12 years ago, of course, we did Pearl Harbor like first thing. And I did it again about 7 years ago. And then I'll be honest, it's not something you have to do like every time. It doesn't change very much. But I do know that, like all professional Disney planners, as we are, I believe it's 60 days in advance. You can go on their website and quote unquote buy a ticket. And don't quote me on this because, of course, things change. But I think tickets are like $1 or $2. Definitely do your research before you pay a lot of money for a Pearl Harbor tour, because you can easily just go for practically free.
So there are things that have different prices. So Steve will talk to that in a minute. But so just look into that. So what Amber's saying is don't like go to some random offsite and pay a ton of money to get to Pearl Harbor or to do Pearl Harbor, because a lot of that is either like $1 or no cost. But then there are some things that do have a cost that Steve will talk about.
The tickets do sell out, and if you don't get one online, and it'll give you a time slot that you can come and visit the memorial. If you just happen to go there that day, they may not have tickets available until later in the afternoon, or they may completely sell out. So your best bet to visit Pearl Harbor is to go ahead and plan it ahead of time online. There also is the USS Missouri, which is one of the last battleships that actually served during the first Gulf War, and it was also the site where the Japanese surrendered to the U.S. after the end of World War II. So they've got that site marked off. It's actually a pretty cool thing to visit. But like Christy was saying, that's an additional charge. There's also a submarine there, the USS Bowfin, and then there's a and I haven't been to it for a couple of years, but there's a Pacific Aviation Museum. It's really well done, but it was pretty small. But those are all additional charges that you can add on to for kind of get that whole, I guess, World War II experience while you're there. Well, let's kind of keep moving around the island. The next thing that you guys have done is the Aloha Swap Meet. I have never done that. Can you talk about that?
Oh, it's super fun. It's at the stadium, which is where the Pro Bowl used to be for years and years and years. And now I think they moved out. And again, don't quote me on this. Do your research. But I believe it's on Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays. It's just a big swap meet. I believe it's like $1 or $2 per car to park. So again, it's very nominal fee. It's a lot of junk. It's like 5 T-shirts for $10 type of situation. But you do find a lot of fun, quirky Hawaiian souvenirs. So I always tell people to go to Pearl Harbor on either a Saturday, Sunday, or a Wednesday, because then you can go right to the swap meet, which is practically next door. Now, it is at the stadium, like I said, so if there's a football game, because they play their collegiate football games there. So if there is a home football game, the swap meet would not be happening. So do your research, and I always try to tell people to plan those two things at the same time.
So, Christy, if you want to get your little tiki statue to put in your tiki bar that you and Dave have, that might be a place that you can pick one of those up.
For all the entertaining we do.
My parents used to go there. I don't know if they've been there for a while, but you could get macadamia, and that's really cheap. And I think they had coffee there. They did some, there's a lot of like locals that do their own coffee and whatnot that you can buy there too. So macadamia nuts, a cheap place to get them there. All right, well, let's keep going. Another place that I have not been to for a long time that a lot of people like to go is Hanauma Bay. Can you talk about that, Amber? Have you been there recently?
Yeah, we went there a couple months ago. It is on the complete opposite end of the island from Aulani. So it took us about an hour to get there. We got lucky. Well, let me start off with this. Like I mentioned, I wake up super early when I'm in Aulani because of the time change. So we normally try to leave for all these excursions like at the 5 or 6 o'clock hour just because we're up. So we got lucky. We got to Hanauma Bay at like 6:55, and I thought they opened at 7, but they let us in for free. So that was pretty cool. I guess at 7 o'clock is when tickets start being sold. And again, do your research. I believe it was like $7 or $8 per person to get in. I'm going to say this wrong. It's a natural habitat. It's not the word I'm looking for, but that's what you're paying for is kind of the upkeep, because it's very, very natural. I'm saying this terribly. It's actually closed. Again, don't quote me on this. It's closed on Tuesday or Wednesday to honestly give the fish a break from tourists. So look it up, Hanauma Bay. It is closed one day, and the parking lot fills up fast. So that's another reason why we wanted to get there super early so we can get a parking spot. Because if the parking lot's full, you just can't get in.
Steve, if you could, since if there are listeners like me who are just not up on our Hawaiian, could you put this a list that we have from Amber that actually has the spellings of these places in the show notes so that people can refer to them to even figure out how to find them?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll put it in there. So Hanauma Bay, I haven't been there for a long time either. It's kind of it's an extinct volcano. And so you start, like Amber's talking about, the parking lot's actually up high. And so if you have mobility issues, they have these trams that can take you down there. It used to be a free-for-all. And as you were talking about, do they still sell fish food there for the fish? I don't even know if they do that anymore.
They rent snorkel equipment, and I know there was a big poster about different fish you can find because this is a huge place to snorkel. That's really the draw. We had brought our own snorkel gear, but they do rent it there. I don't know if they still sell fish food though.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The place had really been overrun. The coral was just really trashed, I guess, just to say it. I mean, just because so many people would go out there and feed the fish, and like you said, it's a big snorkeling place. They had They didn't restrict people at all. And now, as Amber's talking about, now they do restrict how many people go down there. There is one way to get around there. If the parking lot is full, they have tours. So you can book through a tour company that have so many tickets per day that they can guarantee you to get in that day. So if you didn't want to get up early and drive there yourself, you can actually book a tour to make sure that you get in that day as well. But it's really pretty. And I think that because they've restricted people like they are now, the coral's starting to come back and it's becoming more pristine, I guess, to where it was naturally. There's a blowhole there, too. Did you go walk around to the blowhole?
No, we didn't see that. It's down in Hanauma Bay or in the area?
Yeah, it's in that area. I know you can walk around to the left. I'm not sure. Maybe the waves have to be so big before it actually, kind of shoots up into the air. I think that the time we were there was kind of what do they call it? It's like a hot tub almost. You could jump into it and the water would be kind of lifting you up and down as just kind of naturally as the waves came in.
That's awesome.
But maybe they've blocked that off from people too. Well, from there, I want to throw something out here too. What do you use to kind of research the things that you want to do? Because I've got one bit of advice for people, but what did you use, Amber?
Oh, I'm 100% Pinterest. You just Google Oahu on Pinterest, and so many articles pop up 7 things to do, 10 free things. And then I just read all these articles. And by now, everything I read, I'm like, I've heard of it. But every once in a while, someone mentions something new, and I'm like, huh. And then I go Google that and do the research on my own. But I'm 100% Pinterest when it comes to Aulani activities.
I've never heard of that. Christy, do you use Pinterest for things like that?
I only recently started to use Pinterest. Otherwise, I would just Google for the blog article itself. But it is a great way to find different... Basically, you're finding an image that somebody has placed that then has a link to a blog article that will take you to that article elsewhere.
Well, I'm learning something new today. I never thought about using it. I guess I'm not on Pinterest.
Amber is the social media queen, so she is definitely one to ask for info about that.
All right, so for all the dinosaurs out there, the ancient people like myself, if you want to go buy a book, or if you want to go old school, there's a series that are produced over in Hawaii. There's one for each one of the islands. The Oahu one's called Oahu Revealed. Kauai's Kauai Revealed. And it's written by locals. This is just my opinion. I'm going to throw this out there. The original editions were awesome. They were very snarky. They give you a lot of info that a Fodor's or any of those other are not going to give you because it's local stuff. And they were very opinionated. It's since been watered down. The opinions aren't as strong. And I'm not sure if that's because they get a little kickback from people now. But they used to say, when you go up to Huku for their shrimp, you want to go to this truck. Just skip these 2 over here. And now those 2 trucks are okay to go to. So I don't know. Maybe they've gotten better.
So find an old version of it?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say that, but they are by far, I think, the best books you can get for the Hawaiian Islands. They're all, you can usually find them at your local library, and you definitely buy them on Amazon. All right, well, let's keep going. So you guys did the Makapuu Lighthouse hike, and I think, is that just, do you remember, is that past Hanauma Bay? So we're kind of on the southeastern side of the island. And just for reference, Alani's on the northwestern side, roughly.
Yeah, this was probably only about a mile or two from Hanauma Bay. So again, the complete opposite side of the island. This was recommended by the concierge as like a super easy hike because our 5-year-old was with us on this trip, and it was perfect because it was actually paved. It was just like a paved road, not a road, but it was pretty wide. Just a paved thing winding up a mountain. Probably every 5 minutes there was a little place to sit down with a bench. So it's perfect for my daughter that needed a snack, every 2 minutes and needed to sit down every 2 minutes. And then you get up to the top and it's gorgeous. So highly, highly recommended if you hear the word hike, maybe like Christy, and are completely terrified. This is a perfect hike I saw people with strollers, pregnant women were walking up. This is for everybody.
That's the hike I was trying to look up, and it kind of goes up to like an old military. There's some like old military lookouts, and then a lighthouse. I'm not sure if you said that, but there's a lighthouse up there. But it looks over the eastern side of the. I'm gonna like totally drawing a blank here now. The Ko'olau Mountains, which is just amazing. Those are the ones that you see kind of the backdrop of Waikiki, and on a clear day, the view up there is beautiful, isn't it, Amber?
Yeah, we actually saw another island. I couldn't tell you which one it was. And this is the side of the island where the sun rises. So again, we got there, at the crack of dawn. The parking lot was full already. It was like 6:45 in the morning. Parking lot was full. We had to park on the street. But yeah, it was just gorgeous watching the sunrise. And then besides the paved road heading up to the top, there were little side hikes, very minor, and then some looked really like treacherous and dangerous. So it was fun. My daughter could go off and do like a little side, like real hike, and she was all proud of herself. So highly, highly recommended. This was the first time I did it, and I'll probably go do it again.
Well, as you kind of go up that side of the island, the eastern side of the island now, one of the next ones that you've got is, and I'm not sure if I'm going to say this right because I've never actually been there, but Ko'olau Ranch?
I say Kualoa.
Okay.
But I don't quote me on it either.
So Ko'olau Ranch is where they filmed part of Jurassic Park, right?
They filmed a ton of things here. Like Jurassic Park 1, Jurassic Park, or the 2 new Jurassic Worlds, 50 First Dates, Godzilla. That new movie, Midway, was filmed there. And I only know that because they were filming the last time we were there. Yeah, tons and tons of movies have been filmed there. And they have tons and tons of activities for all ages. We have done 2 of the activities. The first one we did was a movie scenes tour, and you're just in a bus, like a legit school bus, although I think the windows were out. And they just tour you around, and they show you all the places of the ranch where they've made the movies. You got to stop and get out a couple times. You got to take a picture with that famous Jurassic Park log, and that was a lot of fun. So that was for all ages. That was probably about an hour and a half. So highly recommended to that one.
And then you guys did an ATV tour there as well, right?
Yes. This was maybe 16 and up. Like it was kind of an adults only thing because I guess I've never been on an ATV before, and they were scary and heavy and like they were hard. They were really hard. This one was kind of pricey. It was definitely in the upper $100 range. I did it because they filmed my favorite movie of all time, which is Kong Skull Island, at Kualoa Ranch. And per the brochure, you could see like the big scene of where all the dinosaur and Kong bones were. And my dream came true. We stopped there and we could like go run around and play with these bones that were like made out of styrofoam. It was 100% worth it. That was probably one of the most fun things I've ever done on the island of Oahu.
I have clients that actually did that tour as well and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like ATVs were hard, and you're not like, you don't think you're dirty when you get off, but then you go like put some water on your face and you realize you're just like making mud with your hands. You know what I mean? Like you're just covered in a fine layer of dust. So definitely don't plan this and then go to like a nice restaurant afterwards, because you're going to be like not ready for that.
Was your daughter rode with you?
No. Yeah, we did this on a trip without her.
Okay, I missed that part. I'll apologize. Did you book it ahead of time, or were you able to just show up at the ranch and book it there?
We booked it ahead of time, although you could have, shown up. I think they do it. They do all these tours like on the hour, or, every other hour. But we booked it ahead of time. Actually, the movie tour we booked like the day ahead of time online, so it wasn't that far in advance. They also have like horseback riding. They have some sort of beach there. They have just a ton of options. So definitely Kualoa Ranch. I don't know .com probably. Definitely check it out. Well worth the drive all the way over there.
So I'm going to go back just a little bit. We're kind of making a counterclockwise circle around the island this time. Before you get up to Kualoa Ranch, there's a temple, and you kind of have to Google this, and I'll put this in the show notes too. It's called Bayado Inn Temple, and it's. I know this is going to sound kind of odd, but it's a cemetery, and the cemetery is kind of broken down into Korean area, Japanese area, and then just a Hawaiian area. But there's also this temple, and it's a scale model of one from Japan that's part of a World Heritage Site, and we've stopped there with our kids a couple times. It's like a quick stop to pull in there, but it's really cool. It's kind of a cool piece of property to walk around. It's really peaceful, and if anybody's interested in something like that, I highly recommend it. And just kind of a quick stop along the way. Plus, they have bathrooms if you need to, because kids always need to go to the bathroom, right?
That's true.
As you're making your way around the island. Okay, from there, let's head on up. Have you ever, before we get up to Sharks Cove, another great place to snorkel in the summer, have you guys either of you guys been to the Polynesian Cultural Center or talked to anybody who's been there?
I have not been there on purpose because to me it just seems like the Walt Disney World of Hawaii. And I don't know, I could be 100% wrong, but I'd rather do non-touristy-ish things, even though everything I've talked about, I guess, is pretty touristy. I keep hearing it's great, and I just keep saying I'm not going.
You go to the ranch,
right?
Christy, have you guys been there? I got a couple thoughts. I'll throw it out there, but
I have not.
So it is pretty pricey, and I think, like Amber said, it's kind of a toned down version of the Polynesian. It's run by BYU Hawaii, so it's run by the school. A lot of the people that are in it are from the different areas. I will say this about it that we thought was pretty cool. We did not take our kids. It's definitely a place you can take your kids, but there's like different regions of Polynesia that are represented there, and each one of the regions has a show that they run several times during the day. So there's Tonga, and I can't remember all the different regions, but I do remember going to Tonga, and they had this like drumming show, and it was hilarious. So if it's something that interests you, it'll probably give you kind of I guess like Amber saying, maybe a Disney version of Polynesia and the culture. I think the shows were hilarious. They do a show in the evening, which is really good, but I've heard that don't pay for the luau there because you're going to pay a lot of money and the food really isn't worth it. But if you want to stick around for the show in the evening, it's kind of like a mini luau show where they tell the story of Polynesia, and you get the fire dancing and the drumming and everything else. We did do that, my wife and I did, and we enjoyed that. So, but it is pretty pricey, I will say that. So, moving along, let's head up to Sharks Cove. Can you talk about that a little bit, Amber?
This is part of the North Shore, otherwise known as Waimea, and I think this might be one of my favorite places, like on Earth. Just the North Shore in general. It's so untouristy. There's just these little beaches kind of all over the place. You normally have to just park on the side of the road. It just feels very like locals go there, and only the lucky tourists that have figured it out go there. Sharks Cove is probably the most unique one. I don't believe there are sharks there because it's a really great place for snorkeling. It's actually, there's these like spiky rocks, so it sounds kind of dangerous, but all these spiky rocks kind of block the waves. When we went there, the water is like up to your knees pretty much. And then if you go a little bit deeper, you can still easily stand up. So it's perfect for kids who are either learning to snorkel or just want to walk around because you can just see fish. It's crystal clear. You can just walk around, see tons of fish, and it's gorgeous.
Did you make it up to the North Shore at all, Christy, when you guys were there? You didn't, did you?
Probably just not ask.
Okay. All right.
So I was at Hawaii when I was 14 for a day for an entire 12-hour layover basically on our way back from Australia. And so we did things and I was a kid. So we went to the Hard Rock Cafe and some other random things because that was cool when I was 14. When I went with Dave, we literally did not leave Aulani except for the last day when we left to go home.
Gotcha. Okay. So Sharks Cove, you definitely need those reef shoes, right?
I mean, I don't own a pair, and I was okay, but I can see how owning a pair would make it way more comfortable to walk around.
Yeah, because it's pretty spiky up there. So you can, once again, we talked about that in the first episode. You can get a Target or some other different places like that. But Target definitely has them fairly cheap for the kids especially too. So, and another big overview of the North Shore in the summer, it's pretty calm up there. So that's the time you're going to be able to snorkel. If you're there in the winter, that's when the big waves are rolling in, and you won't be able to snorkel up on the North Shore at that point. That's when the Bonsai Pipeline's running, and it doesn't run every day. It depends upon the weather patterns. But from there's Waimea Beach, and why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Waimea Beach is right across the street from Waimea
Canyon.
Falls Canyon.
Yeah.
It's like a thing that you pay for, and you know me, I wasn't going to pay to go there. But Waimea Beach is it's huge. A huge beach. We were there literally by ourselves for a couple hours. It's just that it's not even secluded. You can clearly see it from the road. Nothing super special about it. It was just gorgeous. I found a bunch of beach glass. My daughter could just freely run around. They have this big, huge rock that's not too far into the ocean. And apparently it's great for jumping off the rock in the summertime when the waves are calm, like you said. I kind of wanted to do that because it just seemed very Instagram-y. But nobody was doing it, so I figured I should not do it because no locals were doing it. But apparently Waimea Beach, the place to jump off a rock if you are brave enough.
Actually, I did that a long time ago. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But once again, maybe I wouldn't recommend it for super little kids to get up there because it's pretty high up there.
Oh, I was looking at this. I'm like, how do people get up here? And everything I read about was if locals are doing it, then you can do it, But if no one else is doing it, if literally no one's there, I wasn't going to attempt it.
Yeah, go ahead, Christy.
It's so not relevant, but there's a classic 90210 episode where they're doing it, where they do that.
Yeah,
awesome.
But I mean, a good point to that. You got to be careful with water too, as far as how deep it might be at times. If the locals probably know when the right time to jump off the rock is, so good advice there. We have not been up to Waimea Falls like you were saying, Amber. It does cost. You can go into there's a area that you can go to that's free before you have to pay, and sometimes they have in the afternoons they'll have a farmer's market there. So we stopped in and done that, but I've never actually hiked up to the falls either. So. Well, how about Pink Pillbox Hike? I'm not even sure where that's at.
That is actually very, very close to Aulani. It's probably 20 minutes north of Hawaii, so it's on the west side of Oahu. And definitely Google it because the directions are turn on this road and the entrance is on the 9th lamppost on the road. So it's not no one's selling tickets. So there's no big signs. It's just there's a random dirt trail by the 9th lamppost or something, and then you just head on up and you're by yourself. This was super hard, very, very hot, and again, we got there super early in the morning. I think the entire time we were hiking, we saw 3 other people, so this one was very secluded. And Steve, you probably know more about a pillbox than I do, but it's some sort of army thing. And take it away, Steve.
Yeah, it's just a big box where it was kind of boy, I don't know how to describe it, but it's where people could hide in the inside, and then they had slits so they could stick their guns out. So it was kind of a defensive position and they're kind of all over the islands, and they're left over from the early 1900s.
This one's called Pink Pillbox Hike because somebody took one of the pillboxes and painted it pink. Bubblegum pink, and then they drew the the breast cancer ribbon on it for the pink. And yeah, there was a couple pillboxes that you could hike to. They're full of graffiti and they're super cool just because you're just up really high by yourself, and then you can see the ocean. I think you could see Aulani. Don't quote me on that.
Can you crawl in it?
Yeah, you can get in there. You can sit on top of it, dangle your feet over. For me, it was terrifying. I didn't realize how much of a wuss I was until I got up to these pillboxes, and I could like barely climb up them. I was so scared. But yeah, definitely Google it. Pink pillbox hike, very close to Aulani.
And just to go back, if you go old school and get a book, the Oahu Revealed has a lot of hikes in it too. So if this one scares you, you don't want to be on top of a pink pillbox, then there's probably some other ones that you can find in there too. But well, let's go back a little bit.
Let me tell you,
go ahead.
I was going to say, trust the books, I guess, but don't trust them too much, because all these hikes I did were labeled like the easy hikes, and then they went up to like extremely hard. And I thought these were all really hard. So easy per the book for me was still like super strenuous and difficult.
Well, that's a good point, because I mean, for the most part, Oahu's mountains, so there's not too many. I don't think there's too many hikes that are just kind of rambling through the forest. You're generally going up the mountains to get to viewpoints and stuff like that. So I guess kind of be aware of that before you head out on one of the hikes. So let's go backwards a little bit. There's Lanikai Beach. My mom actually works out on Lanikai Beach. Is that where you saw some turtles?
No, we actually saw turtles right by Aulani.
Okay.
But Lanikai Beach, we visited that because let me start over. My husband he found this thing, and it was kayaking to the Mokes. And the Mokes is short for something very long and Hawaiian-ish. But it's two islands like off the coast over there on the northeastern side. So we rented a kayak from a shop. We had to put it on top of our car, which it must have weighed 4,000 pounds. Then we had to drag it down the beach. And I thought we would just be like floating in the ocean. I thought I could take some pictures, maybe even jump off the kayak and snorkel a little bit. No, this was the hardest thing I've ever done. We were just, I don't know. It was kind of like walking uphill in the snow to school there and back, like your parents did. Like it was just going to the Mokes was super impossible. Coming back from the Mokes was impossible. We were exhausted. Like it's fun to say like I did it, but I will never do it again. I kind of recommend it to people because it was so different, but it was so hard. But we saw a lot of turtles and sea lions at the Mokes. So that was fun.
Was your daughter with you for that?
No, this was a adults only trip. Because no, she would have, like, we flipped over. Like, we literally flipped over a couple times. Like, it was it was so hard.
I can see that. That's where we usually go, on that side of the island. So I've got this up pulled up now, but that's kind of over on the eastern side of the island to get out there. And they look like they're not too far away when you go out to paddle out there, right?
One of the Mokes you can go to, and the other Moke you can't, because they're both, again, I can't think of the word. They're both like sanctuaries.
Right.
The Moke you can go to is a bird sanctuary. So there's signs everywhere like, don't go past this rope. There's birds everywhere. If you do want to do this, I would definitely say go with a tour department. And you know me, I'm always trying to do stuff by myself and save a buck. But just getting in the kayak is hard. Like, just there's these little waves and then poof, you flipped over. Like, it probably took us a solid half hour just to get into the kayak. Some random person who was like a tour operator had to help us because people were just looking at us like, who are these yahoos? Can't even get into a kayak. But it was fun looking back. But at the time it was like, please, can this please be over? But it can't. You're in the middle of the ocean and you just have to keep going.
So you make some really good points there, and I'm going to throw this out, not to sound like I'm some expert or anything, but kind of know your limitations. If you've never really kayaked, and I'm not picking on you whatsoever, Amber. If you don't know, if you don't kayak very much, I think that's a great point to maybe go with a tour operator than to do it by yourself, so that you've got somebody that is more of an expert on it. I can tell you that like years ago, my wife was with my son, and she had a kayak, and we were over by the airport at what's called Hickam Beach, and they took off, and it was a windy day, and I was on a paddleboard, and she didn't have the strength to turn the kayak around and come back to the beach because it was so windy. The waves got so big. She was on her way to Kauai. I mean, she could not.
Gosh.
She literally could not. So I had to paddleboard out there, and then I jumped on into the kayak and got it turned around. I was strong enough to do it, and I'm not trying to brag because I'm not like super strong either. But I think you bring up a good point there. You know, on a calm day, maybe that's fine, but it might be best if you're not a really experienced kayaker to possibly go with a tour group at this point for things like that, because you can get yourself into trouble. We almost did there that day out at Hickam Beach. So I want to go back one other place. Did you guys stop in Haleiwa at all? That's up on the North Shore. It's kind of like the main town up there. It's become real touristy, but it's a cute little town.
Yes, and I love it. You're right. It's kind of looks like something from the 1950s, and then now there's kind of some modern-y things. But there's just like little shops, random little restaurants. The best shave ice in the world is found there, in my opinion, at Matsumoto Shave Ice. There's just a lot of like cute little beach shops with little like beach trinkets. Oh, and also, shoot, what's it called? I didn't write it down. Giovanni's?
Yeah, Giovanni's shrimp truck.
Yes, and
yeah.
Again, Google all this, but I think it opens at 10:30 a.m., and at 10:30 a.m. there will be a massive line. So if you want to get there, bring a Sharpie because you can write on the truck, and get there early in the morning.
Yeah, I love Haleiwa. It kind of gives you that feel of what Hawaii probably used to be compared to, besides Waikiki, which is like the total opposite, which you're in a big city.
Yes.
But yeah, just a beautiful town. Matsumoto's is amazing. There's another shave ice across the street. I've never been to that one, but that always has a big line as well. But Matsumoto's, I think, is the original one up there, I would say. So. Well,
yeah, I just can't cheat on it. I just go there every time. I keep thinking I should try another one, but I don't.
They've got there's a restaurant up there too called like The Beach that looks out. It looks out over the beach. I'll look it up. I'll get it in the show notes, but that's a great place, especially in the evenings to go up there and watch the sunset. So. And they have good breakfast as well. So from there, let's go to probably the touristy place, but people that are Walt Disney World fans, it's kind of Mecca for them in some ways. What about Dole Plantation?
When you're driving from Aulani to the North Shore, you're going to just pass right by the Dole Plantation. So that's honestly the only reason we've gone, is because you're literally just driving right by. Per usual, we haven't paid for anything there, but I know there's like a maze you can pay for. There's some sort of pineapple train you can pay for. I think there's some sort of tour you can pay for. We've just gone. You can kind of walk around. They have some pineapple plants. They have a koi pond. They have the biggest gift shop you've ever seen in your whole life. So if you want to pay for those things, go for it. I'm sure it's really fun. But if you also just want to stop by for like a half hour and walk around, you can do that as well.
It's a perfect stop to kind of stop for just a little bit, enjoy the grounds, and maybe look through the gift shop a little bit and get a Dole Whip. So
exactly.
It's a good way to cool off for the day. Well, I guess the one thing that we haven't talked about is kind of the Waikiki area. So many things to do down there, but you've been to Diamond Head, so why don't we talk about that? And I'll throw some stuff about surfing, and then we'll talk about some food and wrap it up.
Yeah, Diamond Head is also kind of the classic. If you're going to do one thing in Hawaii, it's Diamond Head. It's, again, I don't want to call it easy, but I think kids could handle it. It's not paved, but it is kind of a well-worn path. There are some, I'm going to call them tunnels, but I mean, you're not like crawling on your hands and knees, but you do have to climb a lot of stairs to get to the top. But once you get up there, you can see Waikiki perfectly. There is a charge per car to park there. I haven't gone in a couple years, but I remember being like $6 or something, like, so not a really big fee. And definitely get there early because it gets really hot, and the parking lot here fills up again very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's a great place to go early if you can get there even just before the sun comes up. Kind of like as it's just getting light, and get up there and watch the sun come up. It's amazing. Well, just a couple things about Waikiki. Have you spent any time on the beach there? Not like, we haven't like hung out on the beach, but sometimes we'll stay in a cheap old hotel around the area before we go to Aulani. Mm-hmm. So we've walked around a lot. You got the Duke Kamehameha, is that right? The famous statue with the lays all over it. A lot of fun shops over there. Good people watching. It's pretty packed, kind of the opposite. If you want, I'll give you my 2 tips about Hawaii, I guess. It's a great place if you want to learn how to surf. That's probably one of the best places to surf. It's longboard surfing. And just go down by the Duke Kamehameha statue, and there's plenty of surf boys down there that you can talk to them, and they'll set you up with a half-hour or hour lesson, whatever you want to do. And generally, if they'll get you up, they'll get you going, and it's a lot of fun. Have you surfed before?
No, and every time, like, I should learn how to do that, and then I never do. So I really should kind of get a move on and sign up for that.
Especially somebody that likes to move. Trust me, once you get there's that's that cheesy Beach Boys song, "Catch a Wave" and you're sitting on top of the world. The first time you feel the first time you feel that wave pushing you along, it's I understand why people get hooked on it. And my other little tip about Waikiki, it's very busy, it's packed. If you want to spend some time on the beach and you don't want to be amongst the crowds, you can go. There's a place called Fort DeRussy. And it's just it's further down to the beach. Right across the street from Fort DeRussy is a parking lot. You can park there, so it's easy. It's an easy place to find a place to park. There's a big park that you walk through, and then you get down to the beach there, and it's usually a lot less crowded. It's kind of down by the Hilton Hawaiian. It's down by the Hilton Hawaiian Village area, and down there they've got. You can rent paddle boards. There's some beach guys down there that rent out paddle boards and those big goofy like 3 trike-like things where you pedal, which my kids always want to go on and I never want to do.
But no, I always stay in hotels right across from that park because you're not on the beach, but you're just so close and you're just walking across a park to get to the beach. So it's a lot less expensive than staying on the beach, but you're still like super duper close. And you're right, it's not as crowded because you're kind of on like the far end of the beach. And
I'm going to give you the most important tip, Amber. There's a Subway down there right on the beach.
Nice. Amazing.
All right, well, let's turn it and talk to some food. So what are some of your favorite places that you've been to around Oahu?
I guess I'll start with Leonard's, which is a very famous bakery. It's in Waikiki, and I've never been there, but there's a food truck, a Leonard's food truck. It's red and white stripes, and it's in the Lowe's shopping center on the way to Aulani. Like, you can't miss it when you're driving. And they sell malsadas, which is a fancy word for some sort of donut thing. And they are delicious. And there's always a huge line. That's how you know it's good. So on the way to Aulani, if you're driving, look for Lowe's. Or I also Google Old Navy because it's right in the Old Navy. So Google Old Navy and you will find the Leonard's food truck. They're like $1.50 per thing. So they're super cheap.
It's near the Waikele outlet shops. That's where my parents' condo is. So we
nice.
we should get down there in the morning and get those. It's awesome. So Leonard's is awesome. But the original one, or the main one's downtown Waikiki, and that's a zoo to get to. So good tip there.
Speaking of Waikiki, we always go to Rainbow Drive-In, which I should Google it. I feel like it was built in like the 50s or 60s. So it's very like diners, drive-ins, and dives type of situation. But it just seems super local and authentic. And it's one of those places where just buy the special and just take your chances. And it's probably going to be delicious. You're like, what am I eating? I don't know, but it's amazing.
I love it.
That was kind of the theme of our trips. That's usually the main reason I talk to the concierge in the lobby. I'm always like, look, pretend like I'm your cousin. Like, where would you take me to eat? Like, I don't want to hear your like fluffy what they tell you to say. Like, tell me where you would go to eat after work, or where would you got $10 to spend. Where are you going to go? So around Aulani, some of the favorites I found for pancakes is called My Cafe. This place is about the size of your bathroom. Like, it's the smallest place you've ever seen. But they sell a flight of pancakes. Of course, I think they keep changing the flavors, but there's macadamia nut. There's, oh my gosh, there was a purple one. I can't remember what fruit that was. Anyway, just delicious. Google it. My Cafe. Get there early. Totally worth it.
And that you'd have to drive to that, right?
That's true. Although it's like 2 miles away. So yes, you would have to drive to it. You'd have to drive to all these places, but it's very, very close. So, like 10 minutes from Aulani if you have a car.
And then one of the staples around the islands, L&L Hawaiian barbecue.
Yeah, this was recommended by quite a few people. And to me, it was kind of like the Wendy's of Oahu, where it's like everywhere, but it's not like in your face. Like, it's not McDonald's where it's every 5 feet. This was like every maybe 30 feet. You know what I mean? Again, like kind of the ones I went to, a little sketchy. And it's like, just order the plate lunch It's some sort of meat. You're going to get some meat, rice, and for some reason you always get some noodly coleslaw thing. And it was delicious every time, though.
It's kind of like the Hawaiians, like you said, Wendy's, and the menu's huge. There's like so many items on the menu, but you're right. You probably get the whatever the special of the day is. Usually is the best. Let's talk about burgers. There's some good burger places over there. One of them's up on the North Shore. Was that up at Haleiwa that you had?
It was, and I'm gonna probably pronounce it wrong. Kuai'ana. It's KU-ANA. Again, this place was packed, and this was like new and fancy, so it's not like an old rundown place. So very new and fancy, tons of seating. It was packed right when it opened. I don't know if I was just starving or what, but this was like the best burger I've ever had in my life. Now, the fries were not that great. They were like really skinny and kind of greasy. This burger was just so good for some reason. So if you're on the North Shore, I definitely recommend it. Kuai'ana, I'm saying that wrong, burgers.
There's another chain that's pretty good too. It's kind of like, I hate to even say this, but it's like the In-N-Out of of Oahu, but it's called Teddy's Bigger Burgers, and that's a pretty good place too. But yeah, sometimes after you've been out in the sun all day and you did that hike or whatever else, just a good burger sounds pretty good. You've got a couple other things written down: the Loco Coco Drive-In and Fuego. Any thoughts about those two places, or Boots and Kimos?
Actually, I had a typo there. It's Loco Moco Drive-In and Fuego, and those are both, again, right by Aulani. They're like 2 miles away. So if you're looking for I think it's authentic. Like when we went there, we were definitely the only tourists in the restaurant. And they're both kind of like quick service. They're not like waiter or waitress type of restaurants. So it seemed very local and very authentic. Again, it was Loco Moco and Fuego, about 2 miles from Aulani. Boots and Kimos was over by Lanikai, and they are super famous for their macadamia nut pancakes. So after we kayaked to the Mokes, which took 12 hours, we had some pancakes, but not very many pancakes because they only take cash, and all I had was a $20 bill like shoved in my bra. So all we could afford was like one plate of pancakes and some juice and a tip. So cash only, Boots and Kimos. I guess Google it before you head out there.
But highly rated after you get done kayaking all day long.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there was also a huge line to get in, so that means it's good.
So, and then to finish up, probably one of my favorite places, the ABC store. They're kind of hard to find in Hawaii, but...
You mean every 5 feet you trip over an ABC store?
ABC. It's kind of like the Starbucks of Hawaii, but Bam Musubi, or Musubi?
Yeah.
you and I are butchering things, but that's okay.
Yeah, but there's like 8,000 ABC stores in Waikiki, but there is one across the street from Aulani, so this is walkable. It's really big. They actually sell a lot of food, like they have breakfast but they sell this, it's a Spam Musubi, and I probably should have Googled more about what it is, but it's Spam, and then it's like sushi rice and seaweed and maybe something else. Don't quote me on this, but it was like $1.99, and it was pretty big. So if you're looking for like a quick, cheap snack, Musubi, if I'm saying that right, is kind of, I don't want to say famous, but like they sell it in Mickey shape, like at Aulani. So it's famous enough to be made into a Mickey shape snack. And then Spam, of course, is like, the Subway of Aulani. Like everyone loves it. So Spam Musubi, ABC store across from Aulani. I recommend it.
I think that ABC store is a great, if you're looking for, especially like if you're going to go explore the island and you don't want to do breakfast in your room or whatever else, you can pop in there quick. They got tons of, quick breakfast things you can grab and then be on your way. That's probably the hidden gem of Ko Olina's, that ABC store from when you're at Aulani.
Yeah, nothing fancy, but they sell like literally everything.
And the food's good too. I mean, it's actually really good. So you don't have to pay like an arm and a leg to go over to Monkey Pod or something like that if you just want something different in the evening or during the day. Yeah. Well, cool. Anything else we missed, Amber, that you can think of? We talked about a lot of different things, I guess, today.
I want to talk about the one thing you can do that does not involve a car, and it's hopefully finding turtles right by Aulani. So...
oh yeah, behind Paradise Cove.
Yeah, and the beach is called something, but it's like a tiny beach. But here's the thing: you just walk to Paradise Cove, which is very easy to find. Walk into the parking lot, which will be Like you can walk in the parking lot, but there's chains by all the parking spots. But in the very back of the parking lot, there will be about 7 or 8 spots that will be full, and those will be locals at this beach. So it's hard to describe, but kind of easy to find just once you start walking through the parking lot of Paradise Cove. You'll eventually see a small opening, and it heads to this small beach, and there quite often are turtles there. And when I say turtles, they are just in the water with you. Like the signs say, like, don't touch the turtles, give the turtles aloha. But you shouldn't touch them. But like they're swimming right next to you. You have to like be physically moving out of the way to get away from these turtles. And it's really shallow and really clear. Definitely worth a walking over there from Aulani. It's like a 5 or 10 minute walk. It's so worth it. That's the one Aulani tip I tell everybody is walk to this random beach and try to find some turtles.
It says, I just Googled it. It's the Paradise Cove Public Beach. And like you said, we've never actually been over there, which is kind of sad.
It's amazing. It's great. It's great for like snorkeling too. There's just a lot of fish too.
If you're staring at the beach from Aulani, it's to the right?
Yeah, it's on the
yes.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the Four Seasons Hotel. And sometimes there's seals, monk seals. Sometimes they'll come up on the beach over there too. So not only turtles, but sometimes I know the monk seals will come up there as well.
Yeah, there was one there the last time we went.
Okay. Well, Amber, thank you so much for all of your information. This has been a lot of fun. I know we've had this like show on the books for a long time, and I'm glad we finally got this one done.
Well, hopefully this was more of like a Google Fest for people, just to like get some quick tidbits of information and then just start Googling and seeing the things that you want to do.
Or Instagramming. Or Pinteresting, I should say.
Pinteresting.
Or if you want to be like a dinosaur like me, like get a book. But
that too.
Probably you could do it all. Get the book and use the new means as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks you guys so much for doing this. And I guess before we get out of here, I think we asked you this last time, but for everybody, when's the next time you think you might be over in Hawaii, Amber?
I mean, we just went, so probably not for like 2 or 3 years, which is a bummer.
Well, with the way the airlines are going, maybe there'll be some cheap fares and
oh my gosh, they're so cheap. They're so cheap right now, but also everything's closed. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when everything starts opening up, hopefully maybe we can all jump on some cheap airfares and travel. As we get out from being cooped up in the house for so long, we can all travel to someplace cool and have some fun like over in Hawaii. So, well, thanks again, Amber. Appreciate you coming back, and we look forward to talking to you soon after your next Disney adventure.
All right. Mahalo, everybody.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Amber for coming on and sharing her and her family's experiences over at Aulani over this 2-part series. Really appreciate her insight and thought and humor and everything else that she's brought to these 2 shows. And I hope you've been enjoying this show too. We have obviously been adding a lot of different other content now that the cruise line is not sailing right now as of June 16th. And we've got a really random show coming out next, which I think you guys are really going to enjoy. I really had a blast talking to an author, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Actually, Chris and I had a fun time talking to an author, so look out for that one. And then we're going to turn our focus to Alaska. I know that the Wonder sailings up to Alaska have all been canceled this year, unfortunately, and I am sorry for all of you who had that booked this year and were unable to do it. But we are going to turn our focus to Alaska. We were hoping to bring the shows out earlier in the spring to kind of help you out with your planning, but I think it'll be a good look for everybody who is planning to do Alaska in the future or possibly next year as we turn our focus into booking excursions outside of Disney, and we'll also bring you another trip report on the Wonder from last year as well. Well, between now and our next show, if you would like to get a hold of us here at the DCL Podcast, you can reach out to me, Steve, at DCLpodcast.com. Of course, you can always support our show over at the Patreon via our Patreon program over at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. And if you would like to give us a review over on Apple Podcasts, we sure would appreciate it. That helps us get the show known in the Disney and the cruising community. So between now and our next show, if you are, well, not sure how many people are heading out on their next adventures, although Walt Disney World is opening and Disneyland has said that they are going to open as well. So if you're heading out to the parks, we want to wish you all the best. Be well out there, and we will see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.